Hi, this is Paul, the very amateur fish keeper. Something very exciting. I went away with work yesterday to Jersey, the island of Jersey, and did some work. And in the meantime, got a message from my son to say, we've got babies! Here they are. Absolute bunch of angelfish babies. The first lot that I have managed to successfully bring on to this point. It's all a bit of a trial, and yeah, God knows what I'm going to do with them, because there are loads of little blighters swimming around. So it's all a bit of a new experience. I've done my research online, obviously, from various different sources. There has to be, I don't know, 40 maybe, by the time you get the odd ones that are swinging around. Some down here. Yeah, so very happy with that. So just to go through the process, so you may have seen in another video, my koi angelfish are prolific egg layers. They've paired off and they've got this weird love triangle thing going on with my platinum angelfish, but the koi angelfish seem to get it together, and they lay the eggs on a leaf every time, even though I was very kindly toiled to find a nice big piece of slate for them to use. They use a leaf every single time. And initially I was like so hoping that they would be able to do it all themselves, but every single time without fail they have so far laid the eggs on the leaf, looked after them, religiously looking after them, chasing other fish away, which to watch angelfish do that is really strange, because they turn on their sides and kind of dart at other fish, especially the other angelfish. It's a bit strange when they do it, actually, because they don't chase all the fish. They don't seem to chase the black neons away, as if the black neons aren't going to eat the eggs, which is wrong. They don't chase the polar blue cichlids babies. Maybe they think they're not big enough. They chase the crebensis, the other angels, the rummy noses, the clowns, obviously, because the clowns will make absolute mincemeat of the eggs. Yeah, so they do their very best, but then 1 second you've got a leaf full of eggs, and the male, the female is laying them, gliding across. They're preparing the leaf first by cleaning the leaf off and making sure it's all good, and then the female glides across it, laying a strip of eggs, and then a male follows behind, doing his thing, fertilizing the eggs. And then they carry on doing that, and then they swim up to the leaf, and they kind of wave their fins at them to fan the eggs, to keep them all decent, to stop them from getting fungus on them, to keep the water traveling around them so that bacteria can't get to them. And then no sooner do you think, oh sweet, happy days, a couple of days, we're going to have some little babies, and they've swallowed them all up. The research that I've done, I've hoped that it wouldn't be the case, but the research that I've done suggested to me that because they're so stressed about looking after the babies, the eggs, because it's a community tank, they will inevitably end up eating their eggs, because it's better off that they eat them rather than the other fish have them in their brains. Apparently that's better. But yeah, so I did a lot of research online, and decided to use my formerly quarantine tank, where I would just put my fish in for a week before I shoved them in my tank to make sure that I wasn't introducing any bad things, and then to my main tank, and then I decided to make it into a shrimp tank, which didn't go all that well. I lost a couple of colonies of shrimp. I'm assuming because it's just not a very big tank. It's just a tiny little thing. I would love to have some bigger tanks, for definite. I'm on the lookout, trust me. Because I've got a whole counter in the kitchen, which lends itself to some nice, not very tall, but long tanks, or even 1 6-foot length tank would be awesome. I doubt I'd get away with that. And so I decided to research it and found that it was probably best to remove the eggs from the mum and dad, which I felt bad about. But then I realised it was probably the best, and it was the best chance of getting some babies. The only babies I've had before are Crebensis babies. They did all that themselves. They've only managed it once out of quite a few times. You don't see them until they get to this stage, and the parents look after them like crazy. Being cichlids, the angelfish would probably do the same if they got that far. But yeah, so I did the research, put the leaf into this tank. The first time, this is the second time I've tried it. The first time I followed some online guidance. I bought the sponge filter. You see I've got a little cartridge filter there. I was worried about using this one, so I used it initially while the eggs were there. I wrapped it in this foam, blue foam, I actually did that for the shrimp, to be honest, because I was sick to death of shrimp being sucked up into the filter. But I decided to start using that when they were eggs, and then I switched over to the sponge filter that you see there. And I dosed it with quite a bit of methylene blue. Now, the first time, this meant that it went really, really blue. I don't know whether I used too much or whatever. And you couldn't even make the leaf out in the tank. And then I was reading about you should remove the blue. Now, I don't know if anyone else has tried to remove methylene blue out of water, but wow, it seemed like I changed the whole water without actually changing it all in one time. Just kept on taking this water out and putting my other tank water into this one, and no matter what happened, I couldn't get rid of the blue. So that didn't work. They get basically the eggs after a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, they change into wrigglers on the leaf. So they turn into wrigglers on the leaf. So they're little eggs with tiny little tails, really, that just wiggle around, and they just kind of look strange on the leaf. And then they start to detach themselves. After about a day, they start to detach themselves, and they start to fall off the leaf. And in this case, they started to attach to the moss balls, all the little bits of sand, all the bits of rock. They completely fell off this leaf, most of them. And I thought, oh, okay, that's the end of that. Because they stopped wriggling. They wouldn't. There just seemed like a lack of activity in there. And then I went away, just left it like this, and then I get a message yesterday showing me tons and tons of little fish swimming around. So I've started feeding with liquefry. Bit weird, they don't seem to go for it, but I'd imagine it kind of sits on it's very powdery, and it kind of sits on the surface, so I'd imagine it drops down a little bit, and hopefully the fish are getting a bit of that. So hopefully that's the right thing. Yeah, hopefully I've got the right food. Anyone knows any different, or what else I might be able to try, then I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, so the timescales are what I've seemed to find with my angels, whether this is the same with all angels, And this is the point of my video channel, is to explain my experiences, because they can be different to what the rulebook says or what the experts say. The angelfish lay the eggs. Approximately 2 days later, you start to get some eggs that go white, and that means they're unfertilized, or they developed a fungus. And if the eggs were still with the parents, they would pick them off. They'd either eat them or they'd pick them off and shoot them away, so that it didn't spread into the healthy eggs. And then maybe 3 days later, they start to wriggle. I think it's the wriggling point which we normally get with the angels, that they tend to start to panic and they eat them. But when you remove them, they start to wriggle, and then 4 days they start to wriggle a lot. And then in this instance, whether this is the same in every instance, but from my experience of this batch, they seem to stop wiggling. They detach from the leaf. They go all over the place. They attach to each other, and they stop wriggling, which you make them the mistake that they're dead. Like I say, I was lost a little bit of hope with them, and then the next day, so we're talking about 5 days later after the eggs are hatched, the eggs are laid, they become this. I am so looking forward to when they develop into the angelfish shape. And I've seen tanks full of angel babies, and they is the coolest thing. I so want a tank full of angel babies. But that's probably not going to happen unless I was to set up a tank quickly, which would be awesome. But I will probably end up, my son wants a couple. These are going to be koi angel babies, hopefully, by the way. So hopefully going to read to be beautiful koi angelfish. Not that you could tell now at all. Don't know whether I can get them in focus. There you go. Nipples. They're just tiny little fish. They could be any fish at all in the world. They could be anything. Could be grow up to be a blue whale, although I think blue whales are like 6 meters long when they're born, so maybe not. And it's not a fish, of course. Yeah, my son wants a couple. I will probably try and keep a couple to add to my collection of angels in my tank. See how that goes with a fully blown, paired off angelfish and baby ones. Although I successfully added polar blue cichlids to the tank when they were, I was told they would be 1.5 inches, and they were more like 1/4 of an inch big. That got away with that one, so hopefully it won't take long before I can get away with some angels in my tank. It's a nicely planted tank, so they can go find some haven away from the massive great big adults that will be 1,000 times their size. And I will inevitably probably have to sell some, which would be kind of good if I've got 40 babies. If I sold 30 of them for £3 a pop, that'll make a little bit of money back. But for now, I'm not bothered about the money. I am so thrilled to have a tank full of tiny, cutest little babies. Little tails with two little eyes at the front. Yes, so if you're trying to raise angels, be patient. Have a sponge filter. Absolutely have a sponge filter, not a suck 'em up filter. If you're in a community, if you've got a community tank and not just a pair of angelfish in there, don't feel bad about separating them into another tank and growing them that way, because and most of the time they will eat them in a community tank. Yeah, so wish me luck. I will update you on these little guys, and hopefully we'll see some really cool angel shaped fish swimming around this little tank very soon. Thanks all.